Okay, what we're going to look at today is adding fractions that have different denominators. And that's a challenge. And also to add to that, we're going to have some negative fractions. When we take a look at a problem like this, the first thing that we have to do is we have to come up with a plan for solving it. Okay? And that plan is going to be, what are we going to do? So we have a negative plus a positive. That's the first step. Determine what you have going on. A negative plus a positive. Okay, the rules tell us if we have a negative plus a positive that we need to subtract. Okay, and we're going to put the sign of the number that's furthest from zero on a number line. So which one of these fractions is further from zero on a number line? Well, there's a fast way that you can compare the value of the fractions, and that's called cross products. You can quickly multiply 5 times 8, which is 40, and 35 times 2, which is 70. Okay, as a result, okay, 2/5 is further from 0, 70 is greater than 40. Don't worry about the negative sign here when you're doing that. Okay, so 2/5 is further from 0. So when we're solving this problem now we know that since this is a positive fraction, that our answer is going to be positive. Okay, so I have to subtract. I'm going to get a positive answer. Also, the greater of the two fractions, or I should say not the greater of the two, but the fraction that is furthest from 0 on the number line, that fraction has to go on top when we set this up as a problem. So this I'm putting up on top. I'm going to put 2/5, okay, and below it I'm going to put 8/35. Okay, now I'm not worried that this is negative because I already determined in my plan for solving this that I have to subtract and my answer is positive. So this negative doesn't matter anymore. It mattered to determine if the answer is going to be positive or negative. Okay, so in this case we know it's positive, so we just got to subtract these two fractions. I have to get a common denominator. And the way you do that is you start with the greater of your two denominators. 35 is greater than 5, so I start with 35. Does 5 go into 35 evenly? It does, so my common denominator is going to be 35. Okay, so this doesn't change, just stays 8/35. Here now we ask ourselves, what times 5 makes 35? Well, that would be 7. So I have to multiply my numerator by 7 as well. 7 times 2 is 14. Okay, now what I've done here is I've just rewritten 2/5 as 14/35. And if we use that cross multiplication or cross product method to compare, you'll see 35 times 2 is 70, 5 times 14 is also 70. They are equal. I didn't change the value, I just wrote it in a non-reduced form. This is reduced, this is non-reduced. If we took this fraction and we reduced it, it would reduce to 2/5. Okay, so now I'm all set here. I can take 8 from 14, which is going to be 6. So I end up with 6/35. Now, I got to make sure I get my answer in lowest terms as well. And 6/35 is in lowest terms. I already determined that my answer is positive. Okay, so I'm all set. I have my answer. It's 6/35. Okay, certainly a challenging problem, but gettable. Really the key here is set up a plan and then carry it out. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Here's a subtraction problem. Okay, when we do subtraction problems, when we had integers earlier in the school year, we did a process called adding the opposite. And that's what I would recommend on this problem. Okay, so once again, we're coming up with that plan. That plan is going to be to get this to an addition problem. Okay, so I'm going to add the opposite. That's a fair move to do right there. I change subtraction to addition, the very next fraction to its opposite. Now I have a negative plus a negative. Okay, so here's where the plan comes in. A negative plus a negative, we add that up. Okay, so we have to add. Okay, and our answer is going to be negative. That's the rule. A negative plus a negative, you add them together, and your answer is going to be negative. All right, so here's my plan. So now I got to just add these two together. and my answer is gonna be negative. So it doesn't matter what order I add in, I'll put 3/10 on top, 1/15 on the bottom. I have to add these up, my answer is gonna be negative, so I'm gonna put my negative sign so I don't forget. Okay, now I have to get a common denominator. Alright, so I start with the larger of the two denominators, 15. Does 10 evenly go into 15? No. So let's count by 15. So 15 times 2 would be 30. Does 10 go into 30 evenly? It does, so that's going to be our common denominator, 30. Okay, now we'll use the same process that we used in the previous problem. Okay, what times 15 makes 30? That would be 2, so we times 2 times 1, and we get 2 here. Once again, that cross product method, 30, 30. That's a quick way to make sure that you really wrote an equal fraction, because that's what you're doing here. Notice we got an equal sign between them. Okay, 3 times 10 is 30, 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, and quickly double check it, 90, 90. Okay, so I feel pretty good that I did that part of the problem correctly. Okay, now, once again it's addition, so 9 plus 2 is 11. 11 30ths, I already determined it was negative, so I had to put that sign in earlier, and there is my answer, 11 30ths, that's in lowest terms. Okay, here's another one. Okay, once again, we got a negative plus a negative here. Okay, it's already an addition problem, so I don't do any changing. So the plan here is a negative plus a negative, we add. Okay, and our answer is going to be negative. Okay, so now we carry it out. 5/8, below it, 8/9. I have to add. My answer is going to be negative, so I'm going to get my negative sign in. All right, common denominator. Now, when your denominators are only one number apart, okay, to find the quick common denominator, just multiply the two together. Because if we count by 9, okay, 8 doesn't go into 9. Count by 9, we get 18, 8 doesn't go into 18, and so on and so forth. When the numbers are only one apart, you'll learn quickly that just multiply the two together for 72, that's going to be your common denominator in this one, least common denominator. Now, there's other common denominators, but they're greater than 72. And you'll get the right answer by using a common denominator that maybe isn't the least common denominator, but if you can pick the least common denominator, you're working with smaller numbers, less likely to make a mistake. 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 8 is 64. Pretty tough to check that one without a calculator as far as the cross multiplying goes. 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 5 is 45. Okay, so there's what we have. Now we got to add our numerators together. So in this case here, we got 109 over 72. Okay, now that's an improper fraction. Your numerator is greater than your denominator, so you got a little long division problem to do here, unless you can do that in your head. 72 goes into 109 one time, and now I got to subtract here, and I get 37. So my remainder goes over my divisor here, so I end up with 37 over 72. So there would be my answer. It's negative. Remember, we got a negative here. Okay, so -1 in 37 over 72. Certainly a challenging problem, quite a bit to it. All these problems are pretty challenging. They require a plan, carry out the plan, and they're not problems that you're going to do real quickly. They're going to take a little bit of time. A calculator can be used to help crunch numbers, maybe check work, but some work needs to be shown.